start my day by waking up at 5 a.m. Now, I actually could wake up later, but I like to take my time in the mornings and be at work with plenty of time to spare. Plus, I have my commute to keep in mind. We'll get to that later. Oh, before I forget to mention it, thank you for choosing to watch this video. Here is a short introduction of myself. My name is Anna Lang, and I've been living in Japan for over a year teaching English. This video is going to be a day in the life of living and teaching abroad in Japan. So let me talk about how I ended up here. The first domino that fell to begin the ripple effect that led me to Japan was when I was a junior in high school. It was then that I realized I wanted to be a teacher. I had been volunteering for a couple of years at an after-school center for refugee and immigrant children, helping them better their English. This experience made me realize how much I enjoy teaching, but especially teaching English as a second language. From then on, most of my life became a series of events that would eventually lead me to teach abroad. My journey with Oxford seminars began in the summer of 2019. I was studying to earn my TEFL certificate, and at the time, I had no idea where I wanted to go teach abroad. My university degree is in elementary education, so I knew that I wanted to work in a country that valued education and where my skills and experience would be useful. After completing my TEFL course and receiving my certificate, I ended up deciding to move to Japan. Before coming here, I knew almost nothing about this country. I can shamefully admit that I didn't even know that sayonara was a Japanese word. But I ultimately wanted to challenge myself by going somewhere that I had never been before or known anyone who had ever lived there. So the decision was made. A lot of people made me question this decision with questions like, have you ever been to Japan before? No. Can you speak Japanese? No. That's a hard no. Do you know anyone that lives there now? No. With the odds stacked against me, off I went. But of course, I had to first suffer through being stuck in employment/dramatic life change limbo for 6 months due to COVID-19 travel restrictions. But after those trying 6 months, off I went. Now here I am. Like I mentioned, I've been living in Japan now for 1 year and 2 months. Living and working in Japan has become an experience that I never expected, but I've already learned so much and there is so much more ahead of me. When I'm not traveling around the country, experiencing amazing food, culture, and challenging language barriers, my life during the work week has become pretty much routine. Luckily, I live very close to a major station, so I walk about 10 minutes to catch my subway. Public transportation is something I never got to experience in the United States, so I actually really enjoy my time on the train to work. I read books, listen to podcasts or music, or I just sleep. Something great about Japanese public transportation is that everyone is very quiet and considerate of others. There are even signs on the train asking passengers to silence their phones so that you don't disturb others. It's actually a pretty relaxing place to be in the morning. After the subway ride, I have two options. I could walk or ride a bus to get to work. I usually walk to get exercise and fresh air, and leave the bus as more of a treat when I'm really not in the mood to walk or when it's raining. The bus is especially great during typhoon season. I work at an international school and I teach the 4th grade. I'm a homeroom teacher, which means that I teach all of the core subjects, like English, math, science, and even arts and crafts. Other subjects are taught by Japanese teachers, like social studies, calligraphy, Japanese. I have a small class of only 10 students, which is great for many reasons. Every day has a different schedule with different subjects. I teach between 2 to 4 sessions a day and use the other time to plan lessons, help edit translated messages or notices for the office, etc. Some days or weeks are busier than others based on the time of the year. We could be making tests, preparing report cards, or planning a new unit. Despite being an international school, we have a major Japanese influence. For example, our calendar year runs from April to March, which is completely different to the American school year. And before class begins, students will stand up and bow to show their respect to the teachers, which is also something I've never seen before in the States. This has been an advantage for me because I've been able to get a glimpse of what Japanese schools are like. We also have some annual events like Sports Day, a recital, and a Christmas Day event. Which reminds me of a major culture shock moment. Something that was really surprising for me was working right up until or even on Christmas Day. I had never realized this before, but Christmas has only started to become widely celebrated in Japan in the last few decades. Since most of the country is Shinto or Buddhist, Christmas isn't viewed as a religious or even a national holiday. Christmas Eve is thought of more as a romantic holiday, becoming a Japanese Valentine's Day. It's celebrated by couples who spend the day together and exchange gifts. But many businesses and schools remain open during this time, so for the first time in my life, I worked on Christmas Day in 2020. It ended up being a fun day of having a Christmas party with students and doing crafts and games. It also felt like a novelty to be working in a country that doesn't widely celebrate Christmas. We'll see how long that novelty lasts. Another culture shock for me was coming to Japan and experiencing the work culture. Japanese people work very hard and typically have a long working day. I used to think that Americans worked way too hard, but they don't even hold a candle to the Japanese. Being a teacher, I can see this work ethic is instilled in people at a very young age. Many of my students do a lot of after-school activities, which sometimes include just going to more school until late at night. Because I work at a Japanese influence school, I can see a lot of the Japanese staff working long and hard hours long after the dismissal bell has rung. While I believe I have a good work ethic and I consider myself to work very hard, this is something I don't necessarily admire about Japan. I think that the work-life balance is, well, off balance. But it's something that I will be able to look back on and think I never worked harder than I did when I was teaching in Japan. After school, I either tutor students who need extra help with English, have staff meetings, or plan lessons with other grade levels. I leave work anywhere between 3:30 and 5 p.m. I try my hardest to leave no later than 5 p.m. every day, but like I said, depending on the time of the year, a busy schedule could have me staying at work a lot later. I've made a lot of close friends at work, so sometimes we go out for dinner together after work, especially after a long day. A favorite of ours has become the conveyor belt sushi restaurants. The sushi is delicious and cheap. Otherwise, I will usually just start my commute going home. Luckily, the subway ride starts out very empty, so I'm always able to find a seat before it gets really busy. I sometimes stop by one of the many konbinis, or Japanese convenience stores, on the way home to grab any essentials. A lot of the konbinis have fresh produce like bananas, apples, cucumbers, and even avocados. Once I'm home, I make myself dinner. By the way, since living alone for the first time in my life, I realized that I am responsible for all of my meals. I mean, every single one. Crazy. Anyway, I make myself dinner, relax by watching Netflix for a little while, and this is also the time when I can usually FaceTime my family. Because of the time difference, my window of opportunity to talk to my family is either at night or in the mornings. I try to be in bed between 9 and 10 p.m. to get my 8 hours, and that's pretty much a day in the life of living and teaching in Japan. I hope this video was able to give you a glimpse into my daily life here in Japan. In the time that I've been here, I have lived through experiences that were both tearful and wonderful. It took a long time for me to feel as settled as I am now, and to have made this place a home for myself. I've had a lot of help along the way from my family and friends back home, and from the new friends and loved ones I've met here. There is so much beauty in this country, and living here is teaching me things about myself that I could never have learned otherwise. For that, I will forever be grateful. Thanks for watching. Arigatou gozaimasu.